all are using it. Then here is an example of multimodal NLP caption generation. You all might know. So here is one example. So we have one image and input, and we have to come with a text that explains what is there in the image, right? So the system was not really trained well. So you can see सफेद और नीले रंग की मेज पर सफेद प्लेट पर. So some nonsensical output is produced, but some sentence that make sense are there, like kala chaku. So it has identified the object, and then it has identified that एक लकड़ी की मेज पर है. So there is a wooden table, and on top of it the knife is there, right? So that is one example. Again, it is a different problem, a difficult problem depending on the contents of image and even the quality of image and so on. Then this, it's kind of very the most difficult problem, like identification of a sarcasm. So let's read this text. A person is saying, "Thank you for sending me to Delhi and my luggage to Mumbai. Brilliant service." Now, if you see this sentence, there is no negative word in the sentence, right? He's saying thank you, brilliant service, and so on. But if you just add that image to it, if you have the signal, if you may look at the expressions of the person when he was saying this, from that you may understand that no, the person means something else than what is apparent here, right? Apparent in the text. So without this information, a chatbot might reply, okay, yeah, thanks for appreciation, you are appreciating us, right? But if this information is given, his expressions are available, then chatbot might understand that, oh no, we have made some mistake, I need to apologize to him, right? So this is a very difficult problem, and yeah, if you work on this, if you do a project in this, it will be really interesting. It is a really challenging problem in NLP. Then this is hopefully the last slide. Yeah, there is something called as text entailment. This is also a very difficult task in NLP. Only recently the researchers have started looking into it. Now there is a hope that we can actually do something about this problem. So here we are given a piece of text. So here the sentence says, if you study well, you will get good grades in exam. Okay. Now we have different hypotheses. So one hypothesis one says studying well has good consequences. The computer has to say or predict whether this hypothesis is correct or not, whether we can accept this hypothesis or reject this, right? So again, some variations are there. The second one says studying well has no consequences. And then the third says studying well will make you a better individual. If you read this hypothesis and the sentence, there is no apparent direct connection between them. What we are saying here is, if you study well, you will get good grades, right? But there is nothing about grades and all in the hypothesis. In hypothesis, there is something about good consequences or no consequences or being a better individual. Now for a system, it is really difficult to map these two things, that is good grades and better individual, or good consequences and so on. So this is a task. This falls under something called as common sense reasoning, or general AI, we refer to it. So that is also one task. And a slightly more complex task is again neural reasoning. Okay, so here are some sentences. The first sentence says, two kids were playing in a garden. The second says they had an ugly fight. Arpit bet Ishit and then he went home crying. Third sentence is, next day, Sachin, younger brother of Ishit, slapped Arpit. Okay, so now we have read these three sentences. What is going on here, right? If we just ask this sentence, ask this question to system, the system obviously says that what going on? I don't know what goes on here. So what is going on here? So this is about revenge. Okay, so now coming up with this word where a single word revenge is kind of most difficult thing for a machine to do, because it has to understand the sequence in which these things have happened. It has to associate these sentences with each other and infer some meaning from them. So this is a very difficult task. And this is something that we are currently working on. So actually the industry is really interested in these type of tasks. Okay, so this is one review. Ambience was great. Food was tasty. The place seemed too quiet. Okay, so one thing that we saw was sentiment analysis. So usually the everyone is interested in knowing whether you are feeling good or bad about their services and so on. So that is one level. Now this is at the another level that let's say Swiggy would be interested in knowing the meaning out of this sentence. Okay, so it would try to know the place seemed too quiet. This means that you are a kind of person who usually don't like very quiet places when it comes to eating. Okay, so that means the Swiggy would want a computer to understand this from your review, so that next time they can again use or recommend you some restaurant where some light music plays in the background, or which is kind of crowded, so there would be some talk and so on, right? So I know, yeah, you might have understood at what level I was saying all this. So doing all this for a computer, by a computer, is really difficult thing, and this is where we are leading from now on. We would see these systems in future. So if we let's see in the future what would happen if NLP flourishes even more. So here is a sentence: the bank that Naveen used to visit 30 years before was closed due to lockdown, with the government getting worried that crowding of people during the immersion ceremony on the river will aggravate the situation. Okay, here there is a word bank. Now, bank could either mean the river bank or the financial bank. Okay, how a computer would understand this? To disambiguate the meaning of the bank, the very first clue is here: immersion ceremony. So, if the computer is able to map these two things, then it would understand that this bank is probably the river bank and not the financial bank. Okay. So, and yeah, we are quite there. So earlier NLP system would have said it is about financial bank whenever they encounter the word bank. Then since the parsing and all have got really well, the now the systems can say, okay, no, I have made a mistake. It is not a financial bank. It is something else. And now current systems are using models like GPT-3, BERT, and so on, and therefore they have learned to connect the different components of the sentence, make associations, make some reasoning out of it. So we are quite there that today's system might say, yes, it is about river bank. And if you look in the future, if the system understands everything, it might end up saying humans are stupid, they don't use words properly, they have polysemy words and so on. So this is how NLP may flourish, maybe. Yeah, so yeah, this was about the
Thought.
I hope you are not much bored. These are some project ideas. I would end with this slide. So you can pick anything that I showed from slides or just Google and do projects in this. One thing I would recommend is if you end up doing projects with NLP or something, this thing you should do. You must write code for your own model. You should train your model by yourself. Don't just use pre-trained model, run the inference, show that output as your project, but at least fine tune that. That is also quite challenging. And also develop a web service or Android applications or like some interface for it. You would understand a lot of challenges that you have to deal with when you do one of these things, like if you develop web service and so on. So yeah, so yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Saurabh. This was a very exhaustive list of applications, an exhaustive list of
Yeah.
related stuff that you have presented to us. But definitely, the intention was that we get a perspective about what all are different application ideas of NLP and simultaneously also know what exactly are the work areas where your team, that is CFILT, works. Can you stop sharing for a moment? I'm getting that mirror. Yeah. So from Department of Computer Engineering, IT, and all the students who have gathered over here, majorly from third year and final year IT and Computer Engineering course. I'm really thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule. You also mailed me in the morning that you couldn't get time. I was a bit worried person at that time whether the session is going to be there or
Oh,
not. Okay. I mean, formally actually saying all these things, please don't take it in the sense because you've been an alumni and these all are my current students. And being a teacher, I can be a bit slack about the dias protocols that we need to follow.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So we'll have many such future interactions, Saurabh, with you, with some projects that these people may intend to start off with. If they require some help from you, some guidance over mail or over contacting you, and I'll encourage them to actually have certain projects related to NLP because they're learning these things. They can actually do some nice work in these particular disciplines. Well, I appreciate Saurabh for taking out time and giving us this nice presentation that not only told us the arrays of applications CFILT is doing, you also gave us insights actually on some practical issues as well as some practicality of all these applications. So that actually now will be our initiative to do projects in these particular areas and do utilize the expertise that probably one of our alumni has and get some